Hello everyone! This video is to help guide you through the Unit 3 lab activity in your microbiology course, the Petri dish preparation. In this video, you will be guided through the steps of preparing your Petri dish to use for the Unit 4 and 8 lab activities. Before going through the steps, the safety guidelines for the lab will be reviewed. You have received your lab from Carolina and are ready to unbox. Let's see what you should have received. Before beginning any lab, remember to prepare the area you'll be working in by removing any food and drink from that space. Once everything is removed, clean that area thoroughly with disinfectant and do this again to the workspace after the lab exercise. Wear personal protective equipment, and we will go into detail on that in a moment. If you have long hair, tie it back. Before doing any experiment, you will want to read the steps and background on the experiment. If any questions, ask your instructor or a tutor so that you have a better understanding before you begin the lab. While performing the lab, do not smoke and avoid touching your mouth with anything. Once the lab is complete, wash your hands thoroughly. Earlier, personal protective equipment was mentioned. Let's look at that in more detail now. What is personal protective equipment? Personal protective equipment, or PPE for short, is anything that a scientist may wear to keep themselves safe while performing an experiment in the lab. In your lab, you are working with microorganisms, so you will need to wear gloves, goggles, and a lab apron or shirt. The gloves will protect your hands from any microorganisms. They should be worn during the lab exercises in this class when you are examining Petri dishes or performing any lab activities, except the hand-washing lab. You can use disposable gloves or reusable plastic gloves that have been cleaned with a disinfectant cleaner. Wearing safety goggles will protect your eyes from exposure to microorganisms and should be used when examining Petri dishes for growth. Safety goggles can be cleaned using a mild disinfectant and damp cloth. The lab apron will protect your clothes from being exposed to microorganisms. You can also wear a lab coat or long-sleeved shirt while performing the lab exercises. Wash the apron or shirt immediately if there is a spill or microbial exposure. The equipment needed to prepare the Petri dishes are the following: a medium saucepan, a wire whisk or fork, 6 Petri dishes that were sent to you, a measuring cup, the stove to prepare the agar on, and a refrigerator to store the Petri dishes for future use. The chemicals needed for making your Petri dishes are the agar packages that were sent to you to do the experiment and 1.5 cups of water. Now that you have the materials that will be needed to create the Petri dishes, let's begin. Gather up a medium saucepan, a wire whisk or fork, Petri dishes, and a measuring cup. A stove will also be needed. Measure 1.5 cups of water and add to the pan. Bring to a boil under medium-high heat. Let's watch Jenny demonstrate these steps and any tips she may have to help with this.
Hi everybody! We are doing a agar plate preparation. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get a pan. I'm in the lab here, so I don't have a pan because I forgot to bring it from home. But you can just use a pan at home or a pot, a small pot I would recommend. And you're going to get a cup and a half of water. Okay, it could just be any water, any kind of water. In lab, we would probably use distilled water, but any water is fine. You pour it in your pot, just like that. And then you're going to put on your stove. I have a hot plate because I'm in the lab, but it's basically the same thing. And then you just wait for it to boil. And then you're going to want something to mix the agar with once it starts boiling. So I have a fork here. You can also use a whisk. And then you want your agar. So that is this little thing right here. Now you are more than welcome to wear a lab coat. The lab coat looks like this. You can just fold it out, and then it's got holes here for the shoelaces that go through it. So you can put the shoelace through it. It's got some on the side so you can tie it around you and protect your clothing and yourself. And there's also goggles. So got goggles here too. And yeah, and then we've got some gloves that you can wear after when we're pouring. And these are the Petri dishes. Okay, so the box also contains cotton swabs, but you don't need to use them today. Okay, so that's going to take a little bit of time to start to boil. I brought a little frog here and a little snake for you, just for fun. Okay, so I'm going to open this because I just want to show you to be mindful of when you open it, because you don't want it to accidentally open with the lid. So you're just going to carefully peel it back, like so. And then you'll notice it's got a lid and a bottom. So you're just going to kind of set it aside, set it to the side, and that will just be there for later, okay? And then you can keep this for later if you want, or throw it away, up to you. Alright, so we're just waiting for this to boil. It's getting there slowly, and I can see the water moving around. Okay, so let's give that a second to boil.
Once the water is boiling, reduce the heat to medium and add the pouch of agar. Stir slowly with a whisk or fork until dissolved. Stir slowly and carefully to avoid bubbles in the agar. Continue stirring slowly for 4 to 5 minutes. Make sure all agar is completely dissolved. Remove pan from heat and allow agar to cool for 5 minutes. Let's see Jenny demonstrate these steps and learn any tips she may have for success in these steps.
Okay, so it started boiling, and I put these goggles on just for fun. Alright, so I'm just going to tear this open. This is my auger, and I'm going to pour the auger in. Here we go. Just like that. Oopsie. It's a bit hot, so I'm going to lower the temperature. And stir. Actually, I'm going to turn it off, because it's too much. It's going to boil over. So, if you lose a little, it's fine. It's like cooking, you know, you improv. So it is a bit clumpy, and that's okay. Okay, I'm going to return it back to the heat because I know it needs a little bit more cooking, because you want it to be totally dissolved, and you can see like there's some clumps in there. So I'm just going to return it back to the heat. I lost a little auger, but it's fine. Get all these clumps out. So basically, auger you could think of like broth, like beef broth, but with gelatin. It's food for the bacteria to grow, and the specific one we have is nutrient auger. So it's a type of media that allows for growth of a diverse number of species of bacteria, and so it's very non-specific. It's a generalized media. It's not differential or specialized, so this will allow for a lot of different things to grow. that we are going to try to inoculate with. So you can kind of see it's just, I don't know if you ever made Jell-O, but you know how you just want the clumps to get out? Yeah, and you kind of just smash the clumps to get it nice and smooth. So I'm gonna let that go for a little bit. After I'm done dissolving all the media in this beaker, I'm going to let it sit for 5 minutes, and just let it cool down. And then once it's cooled, I'm going to pour it into these Petri dishes. And I'll demonstrate that in just a minute. So let's let that heat and cook for a bit, and then I'll be right back.
While the agar is cooling for 5 minutes, begin to prepare everything for the next step, which is to pour the agar into the Petri dishes. To do this, first disinfect the surface you will be using to prepare your agar dishes. Wash your hands thoroughly and apply gloves and apron. Now unpack the Petri dishes, being careful not to disturb the sterility of the dishes. Place the unpacked Petri dishes on a solid surface with the lids, the larger half of the dish, facing upwards. Once the 5 minutes are up, it is time to pour the agar. Distribute the agar among 6 Petri dishes. Lift the lid of a dish just enough to pour in the agar. Pour in only enough agar to fill the Petri dish halfway full. Replace the lids immediately to prevent contamination. You will have agar left over. This is normal. Dispose of extra agar in the sink or trash can when slightly cooled. Rinse all utensils and pan. Let's watch as Jenny shows us and explains the best way to pour our plates.
Okay, so now it's been 5 minutes. This has dissolved in the water. The agar's dissolved in the water. I've let it cool down for 5 minutes. You don't want to wait too long because this will solidify. So it's got to be cool, but not too cool. Okay, so I've got my Petri dish here, and the lid's on top, right? The bottom is on the bottom, so have it upright. Now you're just going to lift the lid a little bit, but not a lot, because you don't want it to get overexposed. So you're just going to pour it in, halfway or so. And you notice when I stirred it, I didn't vigorously stir it because I'm trying to avoid bubbles. And the same here. I'm trying to pour it. I don't want to speak and have the lid slightly ajar because I don't want to spit in it and inoculate it. So when you're doing this, try not to talk and try not to have other people talk and try to avoid bubbles. So just, if you can get close to it, as close as you can to it so it doesn't splash, that's the best. And then you just gently put it to the side, get another plate. That's the second one. And we're just going to let it sit, and what we don't want it to do when I'm gently pushing it away for the next one is we don't want to splash it so that it touches the lid. You want to avoid the agar touching the lid and solidifying. So it's just should be on the bottom. So let's do another one. Okay. I had a little splash on my lid. Of course, I'm disappointed, but it's okay. It'll be fine. This Petri dish I think has a crack in it, but maybe it's gonna be fine. It might be superficial. Okay. And then ooh, this one was perfect. Okay. And then the last one. I have this much extra, so you can see why I wasn't stressing when I lost a little in the boiling process. Now from here, I'm just going to let these sit on the bench top or the table, wherever you're at, for 6 hours, and then it will be solid like Jell-O. Then I'm going to put it into my refrigerator, and I'm going to stack them inverted, meaning upside down. So I have this dish rack, which of course you don't have at home, but you can see how the lid's on the bottom and then the auger is on the top, and you can see it looks like a lighter color, right? So it kind of gets lighter, and then, you know, it's solid, so it doesn't go on the lid. And then we store it like this because condensation forms on the lid, and so it can contaminate the media if we allow that. So we store them inverted, and then what I would do maybe is put it into something like a bag or like a Ziploc bag and stacking them in the bag and then putting it in the refrigerator. That seems like equivalent to this. Let's see. Once we do our experiment, we're going to grow colonies. I got this plate out of the refrigerator that has some colonies, and I just wanted to show you so you can know, like, here's an example of what you might expect. So here is the Petri dish, and then these right here are colonies, so you can kind of see them in the reflection, and everyone's is going to look totally different, so I just wanted to give an example of that. And that is it. That is how to make Petri dishes with agar. And yeah, I hope you had fun. Okay, bye everybody.
Now that the agar is poured into the dishes, the agar needs to solidify. To do this, allow the dishes to stand right side up and undisturbed. They should be left this way for at least 6 hours. Once solidified, place the dishes in the refrigerator until needed for your future lab activities. In this video, we guided you through preparing a Petri dish for use in an experiment. Thank you, and have a great day.